Chapter 1. When Everything Broke. Clara Hayes was 33. She lived in Denver with her little boy Liam. She thought her life was safe. She thought her family was strong. She believed her husband Mark loved her. She believed they would stay together forever. But things changed slowly. Mark stopped talking to her. He came home late. He looked away when she asked, "Are you okay?" He said, "I am fine." But his eyes looked empty. Clara felt something breaking inside her, but she did not understand it fully. One evening Mark stood in the middle of their room with a small bag in his hand. His face looked cold. Clara felt fear. She asked, "Where are you going?" Mark looked down and said, "I'm leaving, Clara." Her legs felt weak. She held the table to balance herself. She whispered, "Why? What did I do?" Mark said in a flat voice, "I want a different life. I don't love you now." Her heart broke right there. She felt a sharp pain in her chest. She touched her heart with shaking fingers. She said softly, "But what about Liam? He needs you." Mark looked away and said, "You will manage. You always do." Then he walked out. He did not look back. He did not say goodbye to his son. Clara stood frozen for a moment. Then she fell to her knees. She covered her mouth so Liam would not hear her crying. Tears rolled down her face. Her whole body shook. She kept whispering, "Why? Why?" Her hands trembled. Her breath felt weak. She felt something inside her breaking into pieces. She thought of her dreams. She thought of her promises. She thought of the family she wanted to save. It all felt gone, lost forever. That night was long. Clara sat on the floor. She did not move. She did not speak. Her head hurt. Her heart hurt more. She heard small footsteps behind her. Liam walked out of his room. He was holding his small blanket. He looked sleepy. He said softly, "Mommy, why are you crying?" Clara wiped her tears fast. She tried to smile, but her lips shook. Liam Saturday beside her. He put his tiny hand on her face. He whispered, "Mommy, I am here. Do not be sad." Clara broke into tears again, but this time she held him tightly. She hugged him with all her strength. She whispered in a shaking voice, "I am sorry, baby. I am so sorry." Liam held her back and said, "Mommy, I love you." Those 4 words saved her heart. Those 4 words pulled her back to life. Clara kissed his forehead again and again. She said, "You are my brave boy." Liam nodded and said, "I will take care of you." Clara felt warmth in her broken heart. She closed her eyes and whispered, "You already do." She looked at the door where Mark had walked out. She felt pain, but she also felt a small spark inside her. She knew she had someone to live for, someone to fight for, someone who needed her strength. The next morning Clara stood in front of the mirror. Her eyes were swollen. Her face looked tired, but she said to herself, "I will stand. I will not fall." She held Liam's hand and said softly, "It is just you and me now." Liam smiled. He said, "That is enough, Mommy." His small voice filled her with hope. She took a deep breath. She whispered, "We will make a new start." Her heart was still hurting, but she had love beside her. She had her little boy. Clara made breakfast. Her hands still shook, but she tried to smile for Liam. He noticed her pain. He asked, "Mommy, will Daddy come back?" Clara looked at him. Her throat felt tight. She bent down, held his face gently and said, "I do not know, baby. But I know one thing. I will never leave you." Liam hugged her tightly. Clara closed her eyes and let that hug hold her together. That day was the first day of her new life. A hard life, a painful life, but a life she chose for her son. She whispered to herself, I will protect him no matter what. Her heart still carried the wound, but her love for Liam became her strength. It became her reason to breathe again. And that is how their long emotional journey began. Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website bookishenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 2. A Mother Stands Alone. Clara woke up the next morning with heavy eyes. Her heart still hurt from the night before. She looked at the empty space beside her and felt a sharp pain again. Mark had walked out forever. She touched the bed slowly and whispered, It is just me now. Her voice shook. She looked at Liam, sleeping beside her. His little hand rested on her arm. His breath was soft. He looked peaceful. Clara wiped a tear and whispered, I will not break. I promise you. She held his hand gently. She felt a small strength grow inside her again. She knew she had to stand. She had to move for her child. Clara dressed quickly. Her hands were still shaking. She had a job interview at a small salon. She held Liam's cheeks and said softly, Mommy will find work today. Liam nodded. He said in his small voice, Mommy, you can do everything. Those words felt like a warm blanket on her heart. She kissed him and said, You are my brave boy. Liam smiled and said, And you are my brave mommy. Clara felt her eyes fill again, but she blinked fast and held herself together. She walked to the salon. Her steps were slow. Her legs felt weak. She kept thinking, what if they say no? Her mind was scared, but she pushed herself forward. She met the owner, Mrs. Dalton. She spoke gently. She asked Clara, Do you have experience? Clara said softly, No, but I can learn. I work hard. I do not give up. Mrs. Dalton looked at her face for a moment. She saw the sadness. She saw the fear. She saw the strength. She said, You can start today. Clara felt tears form, but she held them back. She said, Thank you. Thank you so much. The work was hard, harder than she imagined. She washed hair for hours. She wiped floors again and again. She cleaned chairs. She folded towels. Her hands started to hurt. Her back felt heavy. Some customers looked down on her. One woman said, You look tired. Clara forced a smile and said, I am okay. But she was not okay. She felt pain everywhere, but she kept going. She said, in her mind, I have to do this. I have no choice. She did not stop even when her legs shook. At lunchtime she sat alone. She had one small sandwich. She looked at it and thought, Liam will like this more. She wrapped half of it and kept it in her bag. She said to herself, I will eat later. But later never came. She worked the whole day without food. But she smiled when she thought of Liam. When she came home, Liam ran to her. He hugged her legs tight. He said, Mommy, I waited for you. She knelt down and held him close. She kissed his cheek. She whispered, I missed you too. Liam opened his bag of drawings. He showed her a new one. It was a picture of a small house. There were two stick figures holding hands. He said proudly, It is you and me. Clara's eyes filled instantly. She held the drawing like it was the most precious thing in the world. She whispered, I love it. Liam smiled wide and said, One day I will make this real. Clara hugged him again and said, I know. You will. Days passed. Clara worked hard every day. Some days were harder than others. Some days she felt so tired she could not stand. Some nights she cried quietly when Liam slept. She whispered into the dark, "I hope I am doing enough." But every morning she began again. She brushed her hair. She held Liam's hand. She walked to work. She said to herself, "I will not give up." One day, at the salon, Clara dropped a bottle by mistake. It broke. A customer yelled, "Are you blind?" Clara felt her chest tighten. She bent down fast and picked up the pieces. She whispered, "I am sorry." Her hand shook. A small cut on her finger bled, but she stayed quiet. She finished her work and went to the restroom. She cleaned the cut. She looked at herself in the mirror. She whispered, "You can cry later. Not now." Then she washed her face and went back with a small smile. That evening Clara reached home very tired. Her legs felt like stone. But when she opened the door, Liam stood with his small arms open. He said, "Mommy, I made something." He gave her a small paper heart. Said, "I love you, Mommy." Clara's heart melted. She hugged him tightly. She whispered, "You give me strength." Liam held her face with his little hands and said, "Because you are my hero." Clara felt something deep inside her heal slowly. Clara put Liam to bed. She sat beside him. She stroked his hair gently. She whispered, "I will protect you. I will work hard. I will take care of you." Liam held her finger and said softly, "I know." Clara's heart softened. She kissed his forehead. She felt tired but also hopeful. She looked at the dark ceiling and whispered, "I will stand alone if I have to. I will do everything for him." And she meant every word. Chapter 3. The Little Boy and His Dreams. Clara woke up early every day. Her body felt tired, but her heart felt warm when she saw Liam asleep beside her. His small hand always rested near her arm. His face looked peaceful. She touched his hair softly and whispered, "You are my blessing." When he opened his eyes, he smiled right away. He always said, "Good morning, Mommy." That small voice made her forget the pain from yesterday. She held his face and said, "Good morning, my little hero." Liam laughed and hugged her tightly. Clara felt life come back to her. She needed nothing more than that small hug. Clara worked long hours in the salon. Every day, she came home late, but every evening she saw something that made her heart full. Liam always waited for her near the door. He held a drawing in his small hands. As soon as she entered, he ran to her and said, "Mommy, I made something for you." Clara knelt down and hugged him. She said, "Let me see, baby." Liam opened the paper with excitement. He showed her houses, stars, hearts, and two people holding hands. He always pointed at the taller one and said, "This is you." Then he pointed at the small one and said, "This is me." Clara smiled and kissed his forehead. She said softly, "You draw so well." Liam held her hand and said, "I will make a real house for you one day." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She tried to hide it, but Liam saw her eyes shine. He touched her cheek and asked, "Mommy, why do you cry when I say this?" Clara hugged him and whispered, "Because you are my dream." Every night after dinner, Liam sat with his box of colors. He made new drawings. He talked while drawing. He said, "Mommy, my house will have a big door." Clara nodded and said, "A big door. Sounds good." He said, "And you will have a soft bed." Clara smiled and said, "That sounds perfect." He added, "And I will work and I will buy food and I will buy toys for you too." Clara laughed softly and said, "Mommy does not need toys. Mommy only needs you." Liam hugged her tightly and said, "Then, I will always stay with you." Clara kissed his hair and whispered, "You are my whole life." One evening Clara came home very tired. Her back hurt. Her feet burned. She wanted to sit down, but Liam ran to her. With excitement, he said, "Mommy, I made my best drawing today." Clara forgot her pain for a moment. She sat on the floor with him. He placed the drawing in her hands. It was a house, with flowers, a sun smiling, and a long road leading to the door. On the side he had drawn himself, holding Clara's hand, but this time he wrote words under it. In small shaky letters it said, "My mommy, my heart." Clara felt her throat tighten. She held the paper gently like it was something holy. She whispered, "This is beautiful." Liam looked at her with hope in his eyes and asked, "Do you like it more than all the others?" Clara nodded and said, "I love it more than anything." Liam smiled proudly. He placed his head on her shoulder and said, "I want to give you a big life." Clara hugged him close. She whispered, "You already give me a big life. You give me everything." Clara kept all his drawings in a small box under her bed. She opened it, sometimes late at night. She looked at the drawings one by one. She touched the paper softly. She remembered the way Liam had smiled while making each one. Those drawings held her together on the nights she cried. Quietly, she whispered, "I must stay strong. He needs me. He believes in me." She closed the box gently and prayed for courage. One night after a long day at work, Clara felt too tired to speak. She sat her day on the bed and held her head. Liam noticed it right away. He climbed next to her. He put his small hand on her back. He said softly, "Mommy, are you hurting?" Clara tried to smile. She said, "I am okay." But Liam shook his head and said, "No, you look sad." His voice was small and worried. Clara looked at him. She could not hide her tears anymore. One tear rolled down her cheek. Liam quickly wiped it away. He whispered, "Mommy, I am here. Do not cry." Clara hugged him strongly. She whispered, "You are my strength." Liam said softly, "Then I will be strong for you." Clara lay down beside him. She held his small hand tightly. Liam whispered, "Mommy, when I grow up I will work hard. I will take care of you." Clara closed her eyes and whispered, "You already take care of me." Liam smiled and said, "You are my heart." Clara felt her chest warm with love. She kissed his forehead gently. She whispered, "You are my heart too." The night felt peaceful. Their bond grew deeper. Their love grew stronger. Clara did not know that a bigger storm was coming. She only knew one thing. She had a little boy who believed in her. And that belief kept her alive. Chapter 4. Winter that changed everything. Winter came slowly, but it hit Clara's life like a heavy weight. The days felt colder. The nights felt longer. Clara woke up each morning with pain in her back and fear in her heart. She looked at Liam sleeping beside her. His small hands were tucked under his cheek. He looked peaceful. She whispered, "I must keep him warm." But warmth was hard to find. The heater in their small room had stopped working. Clara tried to fix it, but she had no tools and no money. She wrapped old blankets around Liam at night. She rubbed his hands to keep them warm. She whispered softly, "Mommy is here." Again and again, Liam would smile in his sleep. He trusted her completely. That trust made Clara strong even when she felt empty inside. Clara worked even harder during winter. More customers came to the salon. More hair washes, more towels, more heavy work. Her hands felt rough. Her fingers burned. Sometimes she hid her hands behind her back because she felt ashamed of the cuts. One day, Mrs. Dalton saw her hands and said softly, "Your hands look hurt." Clara forced a smile and said, "I'll be okay." But she was not okay. Her fingers hurt. Every time she touched water. Still she kept working. She whispered to herself, "I must earn. I must feed my child." She pushed her pain away. The cold made food harder to manage. Prices went up. Clara bought only the cheapest things. Some days she made soup from almost nothing. She gave most of it to Liam. He always asked, "Mommy, did you eat enough?" Clara lied and said, "Yes, baby." But her stomach stayed empty. She drank water to stop the hunger. She lay down at night with a weak body, but she still held Liam close. She whispered, "You will never feel hunger because of me." Her voice shook, but her promise stayed strong. One evening, Clara came home completely exhausted. Her legs trembled, her fingers hurt badly, but Liam ran to her with a big smile. He showed her a drawing of a warm room with lights and a big bed. He said, "Mommy, this is the house I will make for you when I'm big." Clara felt tears rise. She sat down and pulled him into her arms. She whispered, "You have a big heart." Liam smiled and said, "Because you are my mommy." Clara kissed his forehead. She felt the weight of life lift for a moment. Her child's love healed her pain a little. Each day, as the winter got worse, Clara felt more pressure. She worked longer hours to save money. But every time she sat down at home, she heard Liam cough a little. It was small. First, Clara looked at him carefully. She asked, "Are you okay, baby?" Liam nodded and said, "Yes, Mommy. I am fine." But the cough stayed. Came back every night. Clara touched his forehead many times. She said softly, "No fever." Good. But her heart still worried. She watched him breathe while he slept. She whispered, "Please stay healthy." One late night, Clara woke up and found Liam curled tightly under the blanket. He looked cold. She lifted him and held him close to her chest. He whispered sleepily, "Mommy, it is cold." Clara hugged him tighter. She rubbed his back and said, "I know, baby. I am here." Her voice cracked. She wished she had a heater. She wished she had money. She wished she had comfort to give. But all she had was love, and she gave all of it to him. The cold made everything harder. Clara's shoes wore out. Her coat was thin. But she kept walking to work every morning. Liam watched her leave. He waved from the window and said, "I love you, Mommy." Clara held that voice in her heart all day. It gave her strength to stand when her legs felt weak. It gave her courage to smile when she wanted to cry. One night after finishing work, Clara sat beside Liam as he drew another picture. He drew two people standing in front of a warm house. He said, "Mommy, the house has heat. You will never feel cold in this house." Clara smiled with tears in her eyes. She whispered, "I love your dreams." Liam touched her cheek and said softly, "One day, Mommy, I promise." Clara hugged him gently. She whispered, "Your dreams keep me alive." Liam smiled and rested his head on her shoulder. Clara felt something deep inside her. Quiet fear, a fear she did not speak aloud. Liam's cough was still there. Came every night now. Sounded a little deeper, a little heavier. Clara watched him carefully. She felt the winter closing in on them. She touched his hair and whispered, "Please stay strong." She held his hand and said softly, "Mommy will take care of you always." Her eyes stung with tears, but she kept her smile small and warm for him. She did not know winter was about to take Something from her life, something she could never get back. She only knew one thing. She would fight. Every cold day, every hard night, every fear until her last breath for her little boy. Chapter 5. The Race for Life. Winter became harder every day. Clara felt it in her bones, but she felt it even more in Liam's voice. His cough grew deeper. He still tried to smile. He still tried to say, "I am fine, Mommy." But Clara heard the strain in his words. One night while she tucked him into bed, Liam held her hand tighter than usual. He whispered, "Mommy, my chest hurts a little today." Clara froze for 1 second. She touched his chest gently. She felt a small fast rise and fall. She said in a soft voice, "It will be okay, baby." But her heart felt heavy. She sat with him longer that night. She stroked his back. She whispered, "Mommy is right here." Liam nodded and closed his eyes. But even in sleep, his breathing sounded strange. Clara stayed awake, listening, praying, hoping it was nothing serious. The next morning she woke up to a sharp sound. Liam gasped for air. His small hands pressed against his chest. He whispered, "Mommy, I can't breathe right." Clara felt fear shoot through her body. Like ice, she lifted him quickly. She looked into his eyes. They looked tired, scared, weak. Clara said, "Stay with me, baby. I am here." She held him close. She could feel how fast his heart was beating. She whispered, "It's okay. It's okay." But her hands shook. She knew this was no simple cough now. She felt his breath struggle against her shoulder. She said, "Baby, look at me." Liam looked up with watery eyes. He whispered, "Mommy, it hurts." Clara felt her soul break. She grabbed her coat. She wrapped Liam in a blanket. She held him close and rushed outside. She did not care about the cold. She did not care about the wind. She only cared about her child's breath. Liam pressed his face against her chest. He whispered, "Mommy, don't let me go." Clara said, "I will never let you go." She ran as fast as she could. Her legs hurt. Her breath burned. But she kept going. She whispered between breaths, "Stay with me. Stay with me." Liam held her tightly. His small fingers dug into her coat. His weak voice said, "Mommy, I'm scared." Clara kissed his forehead and said, "Do not be scared. Mommy will save you." She reached the hospital door with shaking legs. She called for help. Nurses came quickly. They took Liam from her arms. Clara felt her heart fall when his warmth left her chest. She followed them with tears running down her face. She said again and again, "Please help him, please." Liam reached out his hand while they pushed him inside. He whispered, "Mommy." Clara held his hand for 1 second and whispered, "I am right here." Then the doors closed. Clara stood outside, breathing fast, crying silently. Her hands were cold. Her knees felt weak. She pressed her hands together and whispered, "God, please save my son. Please." The doctor came out after some time. His face was serious. He said, "His infection is strong. His lungs are struggling." Clara felt her chest tighten. Her voice shook as she said, "What should I do?" The doctor said, "He needs treatment. Now. It must start today." Clara nodded. Quickly, she said, "Do anything. Please." The doctor paused for a moment. He said, "The cost is high." Clara's breath caught. She felt the world blur for a second, but she lifted her head and said, "I will pay. I will find a way. Just save my baby." Her eyes were full of tears. The doctor looked at her with sympathy. He said, "We will try our best." Clara fell into a chair and cried. Quietly. She hid her face in her hands. She felt fear like she had never felt before. She whispered to herself, "He is my life. Please save him." She remembered the night he said, "Mommy, I will build a house for you." She remembered the paper heart he made. She remembered how he wiped her tears with his tiny hand. She felt each memory like a knife inside her. She whispered, "I cannot lose him." A nurse came out and said, "He wants to see you." Clara stood up quickly. She wiped her tears. She walked to his room with weak legs. Liam lay on the bed with tubes near him. His eyes looked heavy, but he smiled. When he saw her, he whispered, "Mommy, you came." Clara held his hand gently. She said, "I will never leave you." Liam looked scared. He said, "Mommy, am I very sick?" Clara swallowed her tears. She smiled and said, "You are strong. You will be okay." Liam whispered, "Promise." Clara kissed his forehead and said, "I promise." He closed his eyes slowly. His small fingers held her hand tightly. She sat beside him and whispered, "Mommy is not going anywhere." She stroked his hair gently. She prayed inside her heart again and again. She whispered in a trembling voice, "Please, give me strength." Clara stayed there until the nurse said she had to step outside for a moment. She kissed Liam's hand and whispered, "I will be right here." As she left the room, she felt her legs shake again, but she stood strong. She looked at the doctor and said, "I will work more. I will do anything. Just save my son." Her voice was soft, but her heart was fierce. This night changed everything. It was the night fear entered her life completely. It was the night she realized she would give her whole life if it meant saving Liam's breath. Chapter 6. A Mother's Last Strength. Clara stayed in the hospital day and night. She sat beside Liam's bed and held his hand every hour. She did not sleep well. She did not eat well. Sometimes she forgot to drink water. Her whole body felt heavy, but she still smiled every time Liam opened his eyes. He whispered, "Mommy, you look tired." Clara touched his cheek and said, "I am fine, baby." But her voice sounded weak. Liam looked at her with worried eyes. He said softly, "Mommy, please rest." Clara kissed his forehead and said, "How can I rest when you need me?" She smiled, but her eyes showed pain. Hospital bills kept growing. Clara felt fear each time she saw the numbers. She knew she needed money. She asked the salon if she could work nights after her shift. They agreed. So she cleaned floors in the hospital at night. She washed hair at the salon in the morning. She returned to Liam's side in between. Her legs started shaking from long hours. Her feet hurt with every step. Her hands burned from chemicals. But she never complained. She kept repeating one thing in her heart: "Save my child." One evening, a nurse came to her and said, "You need to eat." Clara shook her head softly and said, "I am not hungry." But her stomach was empty. Her eyes looked faint. The nurse touched her shoulder and said kindly, "You cannot care for him if you collapse." Clara forced a smile. She said, "I will be okay." Then she walked back to Liam's room. Even though her steps were slow and weak, Liam saw her enter. He reached out his hand. He said, "Mommy, sit here with me." Clara sat beside him. He held her hand tightly. He whispered, "Mommy, your hand feels cold." Clara smiled and said, "It's nothing." But Liam shook his head. His voice was soft and scared. He said, "Please take care of yourself too." Clara kissed his little hand and whispered, "I only need you to get better. That is all." Days passed. Clara barely slept. She sat her day in the same chair for hours. She watched Liam breathe. She prayed silently. She thought, take everything from me but leave him. Sometimes she felt her vision blur. Sometimes her hands shook, but she hid it from Liam. She did not want him to worry. She told herself, just a little more. I can hold on. One night, Liam woke up crying softly. He said, Mommy, I feel scared. Clara held him close. She whispered, I am here. I am right here. He pressed his face into her chest. He said, Don't leave me, Mommy. Clara hugged him tighter. She said, I will stay with you always. But as she said the words, she felt a sharp pain in her head. Her vision turned dim for a moment. She blinked fast and whispered, Not now. Please, not now. She held Liam until he fell asleep. Again, the doctor called her outside. He looked at her with concern. He said, You are not well. Clara shook her head. I am fine, she said. The doctor replied softly, No, you look weak. You look sick. You cannot ignore this. Clara looked down. She whispered, I cannot think about myself right now. The doctor sighed and said, Your son needs you alive. Those words cut deep. She nodded slowly, but her body felt too tired to fully understand. By the fourth day, Clara could hardly stand. When she tried to walk, her legs trembled. She held the wall for support, but she still went to Liam's bed. She still smiled at him. She whispered, My brave boy. Liam touched her face. He said, Mommy, you look sick. Please rest. Clara kissed his hand. Her voice cracked. She whispered, I am okay. Baby, I am your mommy. I can handle everything. But her strength was breaking. She felt her breath felt heavy. Her chest felt tight. She whispered inside herself, Just one more day. Just one more. But her body was reaching its limit. One morning as she stood up from the chair, she felt everything spin. Her hands tried to hold the bed, but they slipped. She whispered, Liam. Her voice was faint. She fell beside him. Liam cried out, Mommy. Nurses rushed into the room. Clara lay on the floor with closed eyes. She could hear sounds far away. She whispered weakly, Don't leave my son alone. Her body had finally given up. Chapter 7. Her last goodbye. Clara lay on the hospital floor. Her eyes were half open. Her breath was weak. Nurses rushed to her. They lifted her gently and placed her on a separate bed. Her body felt cold. Her face looked pale. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. She looked at the ceiling and whispered inside her mind, Please, let me stay alive for him. She tried to lift her hand, but it fell back weakly. She felt her strength slipping away little by little. A nurse touched her wrist and said softly, Her pulse is weak. Clara heard the words and fear moved through her chest. She wanted to stand. She wanted to be strong. But her body would not listen. Liam saw everything. He cried loudly from his bed. He reached out his hand and said, Mommy, Mommy. His voice broke the room. He tried to sit up, but he was too weak. Tears ran down his face. He kept calling her name again and again. Clara heard his voice. It cut through the noise around her. She turned her head slowly. Her eyes searched for him. She whispered, My baby. A nurse brought Liam's bed closer so he could see her. Liam held out his small hand. His voice trembled as he said, Mommy, please don't go. Clara forced her hand to rise. It shook, but she lifted it inch by inch. She placed her weak fingers on Liam's hand. Her voice was soft and broken. She whispered, "I am here." Liam cried harder. He said, "Mommy, I need you. Don't leave me." Clara looked at his small face. She remembered every smile, every drawing, every night. She held him close. She wanted to tell him she would stay, but her body was failing. She whispered, "Listen to me, my brave boy." Her breath trembled. "You must grow strong." Liam shook his head again and again. "No, Mommy, please stay. I will be good. I will take care of you. Don't leave me." Clara felt her heart break in a new way. She whispered, "I love you more than anything." Her eyes filled with tears. She touched his cheek with her shaking fingers. She whispered, "I am proud of you." Liam cried and held her hand tight. He said, "Mommy, don't leave me alone." Clara gathered all her strength. She whispered, "You will never be alone. My love will stay with you." Her voice became faint. "Always." Liam shook his head. "No, Mommy. Please. Don't say that." Clara smiled weakly. It was small. It was soft, but it carried all her love. She whispered, "I will watch you. I will stay in your heart." Her breathing slowed. Her chest rose very gently. Nurses watched with sad eyes. One nurse whispered, "She is slipping." Liam called again, "Mommy." Clara's hand slowly loosened in his small fingers. She looked at him one last time. Her lips moved. She whispered her final words, "I love you, my son." Then her eyes slowly closed. Her hand became still. Her breath stopped. The room went silent. A nurse covered her eyes gently. Another nurse hugged Liam as he cried. His small voice filled the room with pain no child should ever feel. The doctor stood quietly. Everyone knew what they had witnessed. A mother had given everything, her strength, her body, her whole life, all for her son. And in that moment her love stayed in the room. It stayed in Liam's hands. It stayed in every breath he took after that. Her body was gone, but her love did not end. Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website, bookishenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 8. The Life She Gave. Liam cried until his small body could not cry anymore. Nurses stayed beside him. One nurse held his hand and said softly, "Your mommy was brave." Liam looked at her with red eyes. He whispered she promised she would stay. The nurse touched his shoulder gently. She said, "She stayed until her last breath. She gave everything for you." Liam closed his eyes. He whispered, "I want her back." His voice broke. His heart felt heavy. He felt alone for the first time in his life. His tiny hands shook. He whispered again, "I want Mommy." The doctor stood near his bed. He looked at Liam with soft eyes. He remembered Clara's words. "I will work more. I will do anything. Save my son." He remembered her tears, her pain, her strength. He said quietly, "We cannot let her sacrifice be wasted." The nurses agreed. They said, "We will take care of him." And they did. They watched him day and night. They stayed beside him when he slept. They brought warm blankets. They whispered kind words. They treated him like their own child. Every staff member knew Clara had died protecting him. They wanted to protect her last wish. Liam's body stayed weak for many days, but slowly his breathing improved. Slowly the pain in his chest reduced. One evening he opened his eyes fully. Nurse smiled and said, "You are getting better." Liam whispered, "Can I see Mommy?" The nurse held his hand. She said gently, "She is with you in your heart." Liam touched his chest. He whispered, I feel her. The nurse nodded. She will always be there. Weeks passed. Liam sat up more. His strength slowly returned, but he stayed quiet. He talked less. He drew more. Every drawing had a woman with a gentle smile. When nurses asked, "Who is she?" Liam always whispered, "My mommy." He drew her holding his hand even though she was gone. He drew her smiling at him. He drew her heart near his. One day, he showed a drawing to the doctor. He said, "She saved me." The doctor felt his eyes fill with tears. He said softly, "Yes, she did." Years passed. Liam grew taller. His voice changed. His steps grew strong. But he never forgot his mother. He kept all her memories close. He kept every drawing she saved. He kept her last whispered words inside him. He worked hard in school. He studied with focus. He wanted to be strong the way she asked him to be. He said once, "She gave her life for me. I must give my life meaning." That thought guided him. When Liam became a young man, he returned to the hospital where his mother had died. He walked to the staff who knew her. He said softly, "Thank you for saving me when she could not stay." A nurse touched his arm and said, "She would be proud of you." Liam looked down with tears in his eyes. He whispered, "I try every day." Liam then did something special, something that carried Clara's heart into the world. He created a small program for sick children who had no money. He named it Clara's Hands. He said, "These hands worked until they broke. These hands saved me. Now these hands will save others." People heard his story. They helped him grow the program. Many children received care because of his mother. Liam said, "Often, my mother saved me twice. First, with her strength, then with her love." One day, as a grown man, Liam stood at the small place where her name was written. He placed his hand on it. He whispered, "Mommy, I kept my promise. I became strong." His voice trembled. "I hope you see me. I hope you are proud." A soft wind touched his cheek. He closed his eyes. He whispered, "I feel you. You never left." Liam walked forward with a calm heart. His mother's story lived inside him. Her love moved through his life. Her sacrifice shaped his future. And even though she was gone, her presence stayed forever in every step he took. Because a mother's love does not stop. A mother's love does not fall. A mother's love lives on, even after her last breath. The end.